2010. Lived in China for a year. It was before coronavirus, so don't worry, I am here safe and healthy. So around 2010, 2011, I lived in China for a year, and I discovered, not necessarily discovered, but really started living the idea of remote working. So working away from your office and not being confined to being at a desk as an 8 to 5. And that's what being in China allowed me to do, because then I could do a lot of online jobs through sites like freelancer.com and upwork.com. I came back and I realized that I actually wanted to start a business. So when I left the corporate in the first place, I was a bit undecided. So I was half in, half out. I'd had a business running with some friends of mine for 2 years called Niche Wear, where we made clothing, mostly for professionals in their corporate spaces. And we would hop out during the day. We called it moonlighting, and I like that today it's now called the side hustle. But back then we used to call it more moonlighting. I would step out of the office, go fit clients, come back into the office, build systems, go step out in the office, go fit a client, come back into the office and carry on with my work. Carried on like that with partners for 2 years, jumped ship after that 2 years at the same time when I left for China. So when I came back flat broke. I then decided that I needed to go back into corporate. I went back into corporate, raised the funds, and then came out 3 years later. And I studied a company called Business Process Mechanics. And when I started Process Mechanics, it was really to build more sustainable businesses in South Africa. So specifically targeting startups and medium-sized businesses. And I wasn't doing anything different, or rather, I'm not doing anything different from what I used to do for corporates, but I now do it specifically for small and medium-sized entities. In trying to scale my own business, I partnered with a company called Entrepreneurdy. So what Business Process Mechanics does is, on one end, we look at your business model, and that speaks to how you're selling and marketing your business, your products and services to customers. And then on the other side, we're looking at the business processes. Now, the business modeling side of it was taking a lot of time and effort from our end. And it was really just quite cumbersome. It wasn't the kind of work that really excited me, because I really was going for the processes end of it and not necessarily the business modeling. So going with Entrepreneurdy was a way for me to scale up and do the business modeling side of it more efficiently, so that we could get to the crux of the matter, being the processes, at least for what Business Process Mechanics was out to gun for. Some years later, I then joined Designathon Works, and there we do design thinking with children from as young as 7 years old to adults. When we're with adults, it's mostly re-engineering the businesses that you have. So when you're stuck as to how do I re-innovate my business, Designathon Works, we use design thinking principles to then get you more innovative as to the business model that you're building. That arrow is supposed to have a line right through Creative Enterprises Hub. And one of my partners at Creative Enterprises is here, but this was an NPO that we had started and we have since shut down. But we can have a conversation about failed entities on a different day. And this year, right before coronavirus, or rather late last year, right before coronavirus became a topic, we were starting Afro Travel. And Afro Travel is an online marketplace specifically for business people to travel around Africa on mission trips. So you're actively going out there to look out business opportunities via the platform. It is not necessarily for leisure, although we will have some leisure trips. It will focus mostly on business. So in the context of scaling your business and growing your business, right? Doesn't really matter why you started, but now that you're here, do you have an end goal for this business? Do you have an idea as to what is it going to look like? Now, a lot of the times I ask my clients, so where are you going with this business? What do you want it to be? And the typical answers are, I want to build a legacy. So hands up if you want to build a legacy for your family to hand it over. Hands up if you want financial freedom for your business. Hands up because you left your old job who was really sucking at it, at being a boss, and then now you're in this business and it's kind of accidental and you don't know. Because that's one of the answers that comes out is sometimes, I don't know. it's important that at every step of the way, you kind of have an idea as to what you're building towards. Now, in the early stages, at least for the first 3 years of the business, a lot of things are hazy. You might not know exactly what it would look like in 10 years. But what's important to know is what would it look like in a year's time, 3 years' time, and then you start building incrementally. Once you start scaling your business, you will start looking at it on a much longer term. So if you're asked the question, what is the vision for this business, and you don't have an answer for 10 to 20 years from now, it is okay. You can speak to the fact that for the next 3 years, this is what I am building towards, and this is what my focal point is. As you grow and scale the business, you will realize that that answer does change. Because you start defining your business model, you start re-understanding what your purpose is, and you're going to build towards this. But what is important is you have some sense of direction as to what you're building towards. Most of us are like this, right? Most of our ideas look like this. It's on a piece of paper somewhere. It's on a notepad somewhere. It's on your diary for 2019, and this year you haven't looked at it at all, but it's got all these great plans about how you're going to build your business, right? How often do you look back at that piece of paper, at that notepad, or that diary? Most of us actually, when we get a new diary, it's like, it's a new me. I'm getting ready for my new business. And you pull out a new pen, and it's a whole new stationery kit because you've got new ideas and you're feeling rejuvenated about your business. Am I right? So we do these things, and guess what happens? You actually don't refer back to your notes. You lose whatever great potential there was in that idea, so you don't implement it into the business, and you never see it to fruit. It could have been the idea that saved you. Another popular tool is this one. How many of you have used this? Business Model Canvas, right? I work a lot with incubators, and I see them use this quite a lot. Now, this is a great tool. I'm not going to diss it in any way, and simply because it gets you answering the right questions about what it is you're building from a business point of view. My only challenge with this is, once you've written it and you walk out of the room, in the incubator, they have no clue what you're building. Zero clue. You're walking out with that piece of paper, and they can't even track that investment that they put in you to school you to become a better entrepreneur, and they can't see what you've applied in the business, and they can't even track your growth post that session. Even for you yourself, as you've plotted out all your ideas, and this is how you're going to approach things, you don't really have a means to track the growth of your business from that piece of paper. So you can't see whether that action actually became something. You're going to sit and wait and hope that the bank balance one day will tell you that this business is growing or not. True? So the first tool I'm going to introduce you to is one called Entrepreneurdy. The very tool that helped me scale my business is the tool that is accessible to you. It's entrepreneurdy.com. So like an entrepreneur nerd, right? On this, you can start documenting your business model. So in very much the same way that you would use Business Model Canvas, there's videos on it. It directs you to start documenting your business model. As you start documenting it, you'll see at the top there, it says Business Plan. You can click on Business Plan, and all the things that you have been documenting is actually in paragraph format on a Word-type document that you can then download, make pretty, and submit as your business plan. There's also great features in that it connects you to a mentor. So if you have your own business coach, you can just say, look, please look at my business model, and then they can look at it remotely. All you need to do is just share the platform with your email address, and they can see it on the other side. Once they've accepted the invitation, they can see your business model, and the two of you can discuss this, right? So you don't have to spend time now physically in the same space to try and have your meeting with your coach. You can do it online, or you can request a coach from us, and then that's what you pay for. So the platform itself to access is free, but then you would have to pay for your mentors. But now when we put it in incubators, it becomes a very powerful tool because the incubator themselves can see if the business is then growing in there, right? The next part of this, of what the platform does, is that it has a project management element. So where you then say that in 3 months, I want to have grown my social media audience by an extra 100K followers. In 3 months, I wanted to have raised capital of 100,000 rands to buy machinery X. You can put it onto your objectives, and then you can create a task linked to that objective to make sure that you're not just busy for the sake of busy. To make sure that the tasks that you're doing within your business, as you complete them, they relate back to some sort of a growth objective. Have you ever found yourself doing stuff and you're just like, where did the time fly? And has what I've been caught up in actually added value to my business? If your tasks are not related to you actually growing your business, then you're really just being procrastinating and you're running away from actually doing the things that make you accountable to growing this particular business. When you then have a team, you guys as a team can look at this business model and start talking about the business as a whole. As small business owners, our teams are part of the growth curve. It's very different from a large corporate where the CEO is sitting there with just a team of maybe 6 or 7 people advising them, and it affects 3,500 people at the bottom end. So the easier way to build when you're building a small business is actually involving your team in these kind of things, and you start getting buy-in from the team, and you start realizing that they become more proactive and productive. As you grow in your business, you will find that a lot of your objectives, your growth objectives, fall into one of these 3 categories. Now, I've put a star particularly around the one for sales because, if anything, if you're going to be selling a product or service and you cannot convert into a sale, are you really in business? Sales is what validates the need for your product or service to the market. And that's why in the first at least 3 to 5 years of your business, a lot of the focus should be on sales, on making sure that you can get as many customers coming through the door as possible. And you ideally want to be learning as much as possible from that customer. The speaker before me spoke about how you do it on social media. The more you know, the easier it is to compile that content, the easier it is to get that content converting into a sale, and the easier it is for you to close the books and say, my business is growing. If you're finding it hard to get the sales, you need to be going to look back at why it is that the customers would want this product or service that you're offering, and what can you do to improve that. The second element, the second element would depend on what kind of business you are, right? So if you're capital heavy, your second element will be on raising capital. But really, if you're using more services, your second element will be on growing the capacity of your business. So when you're growing capacity, we're talking about things like putting resources into the business, growing your team into the business. And that would be your next objective, is how do you then grow, how do you make sure that you have enough capacity to deliver to that business? The third point is, how are you going to raise capital? Not just funding, but capital in general. Not just external funding from an investor or a venture capitalist, but also sales. The money that comes in as revenue for your business, how much of it are you going to put towards growing that business? And I know it's difficult, but because as SMEs, we just look at our costs, and then we look at maybe 15% yana margin to add on to this thing, and then we hope for the best, right? But in that 15%, do you even have capacity to hire one more person? To invest in another tool? Do you have capacity to open the shop that you want to open, remember, based on your vision in the first place? So part of what you're doing in the business should be invested towards growing your business on its own. And you can speak to chartered accountants about how do I create a financial strategy to actually create wealth within the business. Not an accountant. An accountant is going to do your books. So you need a financial strategy on how do you create wealth in the business. And after I've said all of these nice things to entrepreneurs, they then tell me, but I've got all of these challenges, right? The challenges, how do I access the right kind of skilled labor into the business? And we're caught between a rock and a hard place because on one hand, you can't afford the skills that you need, but on the other hand, the people that you can afford are actually not at the right skill set for the business, for you to need in the business, right? But it also creates an opportunity. That particular challenge in itself creates an opportunity because now you can open a training division within the business or go partner with a company that is doing training, Because then you take the best of that lot and you put them into your business, and that's how you start growing into that business. But then there are tools that you need to provide them within the business so that they can keep improving their own competencies so that they can keep adding value into the business. And I will share some tools with you just now. The big one, access to development finance. How do I access money when I'm a growing business? How do I convince them that they need to actually fund my scaling project? If your funding requests are directed towards corporate and they're directed towards government, please make use of policies. There are lots and lots of policies, there are lots and lots of tax benefits that are out there. So beyond, I need to grow my team, if you structure it as, I need to scale up my business operations and create employment for 15 more people, all of these employees are between the ages of 18 to 29 years old, which qualifies us for a youth tax incentive. All of a sudden, the financial director starts seeing that you are positioning yourself to be someone that cuts costs for them in their business just by buying from you or by investing from you. It takes away all of these guilt trips that we try and say, my business is growing, so if maybe you can just help me with 50,000, I can add one more employee. You're now starting to talk business to business and saying, this is how I am going to help you, Mr. Financial Director, reach your growth, your target of cutting costs for your business by actually doing business with me. Right? So that's how you start unlocking these things. And you can, if you're in the research phase, there's something called a Section 11D that you can benefit from, and 150% of what you're spending is actually claimed back via the tax system. Creating and scaling the demand of your business. So now it's great that you've got customers. They are all buying from you. Your business is growing, so you can see it because in the bank balance there, it's going up, right? You're getting excited because you're starting to feel the pressure of needing more people into the business. But how do you then scale that demand without necessarily breaking the bank? Because up until the 3-year mark, 3 to 5 year mark actually, you have been adding more people to grow the business. But if you're going to scale, you now need tools that would allow you to expand the business without necessarily adding onto your overhead costs. Have I skipped anything? No. Okay. In case you're wondering, so where do I start solving this problem? Create journey maps. Journey maps are high-level workflows of what happens from the time your customer gets to know about your brand. So it could be a social media post that they see. What influences them to come all the way and travel to a point where you're now delivering to them. And you will be asking questions around what kind of decisions are they making. So I work a lot with entrepreneurs. I can tell you that when entrepreneurs look at my content online, they're already starting to feel the pinch of processes. The ones that engage with my content is because they realize that processes are a mock, things are ad hoc operations here. They really just wish they had a structure that could make them just feel like they could sleep at night because things are just feeling a bit all over the place. They want to grow a team, but they don't know where to start growing a team. They want to get tools to start making things efficient, but they don't know where to start. Right? So I now need to take all of that and put it in such a way to say, if you're buying on social media, how do I pull you off social media to then start engaging with us? And there's a journey that I need to create in order for you to keep pulling you in. So if I've seen you on social media, can I at least draw you to my website? If you're coming from my website, can I then convert you to into an email that then converts you into a sale? And that's really for the slow type of sale conversion. The ideal is where somebody sees your post and says, I want to buy now, and they buy. But what you want to also then see is what kind of opportunities lie within that process. So Yoko is a good example because you would be going out to market there and people ask you, I need to pay, but I need to pay by card. Do you have a card machine? And you go, no. Have you heard about Yoko? Maybe get a Yoko, right? And then it starts putting you into a card machine. So that customer feedback is that what educates you to where the opportunities lie. So if people are asking you more and more, so do you have a website? And you keep saying no, perhaps you need to get a website. If they're asking you, do you have an Instagram page? Oh, no, I don't have an Instagram page. Oh, why? I'm on Instagram all day, and I like your stuff. I could really be promoting it. That's an opportunity missed. So that's when you start seeing the opportunities, and that's when you start discovering what kind of tools should you be considering in your business to start scaling the reach, to start converting that into sales, and to start using the analytics to start to improve your business. Okay, some tips here. How many of you have a website? Is it working very efficiently for you? Is it there just to market your business somewhere in the background? Nah? Do you even know how much traffic your website gets? Does it even bother you? Most people don't. It does. It bothers you because you spent money on it, or because you're really just thinking this should have been the thing that puts people there. Aha. But now what you put on your website is going to change what kind of interaction people have with your website, right? If I've been to your website once before, I don't need to keep coming back to your website unless I can buy from your website, right? That's what keeps me coming back. But honestly, if we're not driving traffic towards our website and using our website as an extra resource, how many times do you feel like if someone could just do the admin for me? If someone could just do just a little bit of the admin, just build me a CRM tool, a customer database, quick. You can use your website to do all of those things, right? So I'm just going to speak to a couple of pointers that I've put there. Using stuff like newsletters, your social media. The moment you draw your audience from social media and you get them onto your website, get them to fill in just their email address and sign up for a newsletter. That starts building a customer database for you. It starts letting you know that there's some people are interested, maybe not yet ready to buy. Maybe not yet ready to buy, right? And you can use the newsletters to then convert them into buying because then you're writing them either weekly. Please do it weekly at the very most. Not the everyday type of newsletter where every day we are reading this. It could get bothersome to people, especially if they're long. And especially if they're promoting the same product every single day, change up the content. It is also a good tool to use to just educate your customer, particularly if you've got a new product that is going to replace an existing product into the market. So if you want to convince me to stop using Colgate, and I must use your new version of toothpaste, I almost said Colgate all over again, but you want me to use your version of toothpaste, then you've got to tell me a little bit more about the product, and you can use the newsletter to then convert me to someone that says, maybe that's why I need to stop using the Colgate and start using the other brand. Then you can do stuff on sales. Lead pages is also a good way to get traffic going into your way. Ask a couple of trivia questions related to your product, and it's a good way to also get feedback. Hey, do you ever have dry skin? Would you like something to moisturize it? And you click no. Okay, I know that that person is not particularly interested in moisturizer, but I can get their details in the meantime. Next time they log on, hey, you don't like the moisturizer, but do you like eyeliner? And you can get them involved in other products, and you start learning which products are people more interested in than not, and you can use that for your sales campaigns. An interesting one here was lay-by accounts. Now, as a consultant, one of the biggest rejections I get is, ooh, I can't afford you. Anyone in the servicing space? Get that a lot? Ooh, I can't afford your services. That to me just spells, I know I need it, but I'm not quite sure I'm ready to commit to that amount right now. So what I started doing is allowing people to do a lay-by account. Lay-by and allowing them to unlock value every time they've paid a certain portion of their installment, right? So instead of unlocking the full value of the product and service all in one go, I let you have it in chunks because you are also then paying in chunks. So that way you can start seeing that, oh, okay, it works, Nyanamus, okay, I'm improving. And then you can start, whatever money you start making, you can start throwing it into the next lump sum that you're paying towards. It starts making things easier, right? The trick is, though, you must have a good cancellation policy, and you also don't want people just saving up for like 12 months. You want to cash them into a three months deal. And that started reducing our dropout rate. Because now people can see that it's almost like a stock failure just to grow my business. If you do a lot of the bookings online onto your website, if you allow people to book appointments with you, you reduce the, oh, hi, can we meet next week Tuesday? No, I'm not available Tuesday. What about Thursday, 2 o'clock? No, not that one. Let's try something. By then, we have lost 10 minutes of backwards and forwards email for something where I could have just said, you know what, just go to my website, pick a date and a time that suits you and stuff, fill in the details, tell me where we must meet, and it gives you options, and we're good to go. And I'm now loving the one good thing that has come out of this coronavirus experience. Now, when I tell people, let's have online meetings, they're like, yes! Right? They're excited now to have online. Before, it was just like, no, I want face-to-face. Now I'm just like, Corona, nah, ain't for it. But the more, when you start doing these things off of your website, you are starting to buy back your time as well. You start saving a whole lot more into the business. What's important is the analytics behind all of these tools starts telling you a whole lot more about the business, and that's the information you use to then scale your business. Because it will tell you things like, where are these people coming from that are looking at your site? Where in the world are they coming from? Why is there a particular interest in that particular part of the world for the service that I'm doing? What's happening? And you can start researching there. And perhaps maybe I should move from South Africa and go over there and start my business there. Or find a consultant that I can work with on the other side and let them open the second office that we need. I was showing a lady the other day who sells, she sells khemer, but it's dehydrated, and it's in a pack. And I said to her, if you have this on your website, you can focus on making sure the traffic and the sales happen via your website. And then on the ground, you can have a sales force of people who just go out there and just run production testing stations, where they're outside in a mall and they're making people taste the khemer and whatever, direct people to the website to buy, and then you move on. Just keep your branding consistent for everyone that's coming and doing the tasting so that it drives traffic to the website and get people buying there. And she says, no, but people don't buy online. But I'm like, but how do you know when you don't have a website? How do you know? And also, I'm seeing it here. I'm going to promote it. Everyone else that's looking at my particular audience might now want to know, where do they buy it? I can't say they must come find you in the middle of Midrand. It's difficult. But if I can point them to a website, I can do marketing for you. You can grow reseller teams just by using that model. And you can look at the examples like Tupperware. They're everywhere. We all have it. But they've used a reseller model, and they really just direct people to their website if you're not going to buy from the person face-to-face. Here's another list of tools that you can use. So I've left some time to do a Q&A, but I don't know if my timekeeper allows me. Cool. Most of these tools are free for you to use. I will emphasize, though, that what you want to look at is the analytics behind all of these tools, right? So you go and look at your profile, you look at the settings of all of these tools, and you start understanding what it is about your customer that you need to know in order to improve your sales. Some of these tools, you can use them just to learn. So Blinkist, Udemy, Coursera, Mind Tools, you can get free courses onto that. And you can pay for, if you want to upskill your staff, you can pay for them to get a certificate so that it adds to their CV and knowledge and skills and stuff. And you can use that as a way to even incentivize the staff that you have. Is there a particular one you'd like to pinpoint? So that's the end of my talk. If you have questions, I'm open to taking questions.